to this Housing and Environment Scrutiny Committee on the 10th of February 2026. This meeting will be live streamed and a recording will be made available to view via the Council's website, except for discussions involving confidential or exempt items. Therefore, the images and audio of those individuals speaking will be publicly available to all via the recording on the Council's website. We'll now move on to the main business and agenda item 1. Other than those received, have we got any other apologies for absence?
Apologies from Councillor Tudor Davis and Councillor Andrew Whitcomb, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mark. Councillors and officers are reminded of their personal responsibility to declare any personal and or prejudicial interest in respect of any item of business on this agenda in accordance with the Local Government Act 2000, the Council's Constitution and the Code of Conduct for both councillors and officers. If there are any declarations, please indicate now.
No hands raised, Chair.
Thank you. We now move on to the minutes of the meeting held on the 9th of December 2025. Checking each page for accuracy, page 1, page 2, page 3, and page 4. If there are no issues, can I have a mover for the minutes, please?
I move, Chair.
Thank you. And a seconder?
I will second, Chair.
Thank you. And we'll now take that to the vote.
Yeah, that's carried, Chair. 11 votes for, no votes against, and 1 abstention.
Can you record my vote for?
And 1 verbal vote for from Councillor Adams. That's 12 votes for, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Adams.
Thank you very much, Mark. Are there any matters referred under the call-in procedure?
No matters been called in for this meeting, Chair.
And we now move on to the forward work programme. If I hand over to you, Mark.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Members are asked to consider the forward work programme for the Housing and Environment Scrutiny Committee alongside the Cabinet forward work programme and to suggest any additions, amendments within the criteria set out in Appendix 3. The next meeting for this committee will be on the 24th of March, and as you can see, there's a Audit Wales report on temporary accommodation and also a notice of motion on the private estate management contracts. So if members are happy, I would like to seek permission to publish the forward work programme with any amendments onto the Council's website. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mark. Councillor Judith Pritchard.
Yes, I've got an item that I think is suitable for the forward work programme, and I know all members are very concerned about the voids that we have in council houses and houses boarded up. So I'm wondering if we could have and I'll read it now because I'll email you this later. If we can have a report on the efforts made by the council to remediate the shortage of skilled workmen so as to reduce the number of void council properties, with particular reference to 1, recruitment, 2, the success or otherwise of the apprenticeship scheme run by the council.
Thank you very much, Councillor Pritchard. I don't see any objection to putting that on the forward work programme, but I know that officers have got a report on voids, but we can add that to the forward work programme. So if that's accepted with everyone, can I have a mover, please?
I'll move that one, Chair, on behalf of Judith.
And seconded. So we'll now take that to the vote.
That's carried unanimously, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mark. We'll now see if there's any cabinet reports that have been brought forward. There's a number listed of any being brought forward, Mark.
None of those cabinet reports have been brought forward for this meeting, Chair.
Okay. Thank you very much. We'll now move on to agenda item 7 and the Housing Revenue Account Business Plan. And I'll ask Councillor Shane Cook to introduce this.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. The HRA Business Plan is an annual requirement from Welsh Government as part of the annual submission of the Major Repairs Allowance Grant application. The business plan is a 30-year plan ensuring the effective long-term management and maintenance of the Council's housing stock. It is essentially a financial forecast relying on key assumptions which identifies the resources and funding required to meet, for instance, WHQS requirements and building new council homes. The business plan relies on key assumptions to remain viable, and in recent years it has become increasingly volatile due to the COVID pandemic, Brexit, and with increases in inflation. It is therefore prudent that members are formally updated on the financial position of the HRA as part of the annual grant submission to Welsh Government. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much for that, Shane. Are there any questions? Councillor Judith Pritchard.
Yes, thank you, Chair. It's about affordability and our rents, which are actually low. Sorry, I've got some disturbance on the screen. Yeah. The Joseph Rowntree Foundation showed with the affordability of Caerphilly County Council rents that we were actually below the threshold for affordability. We've got very cheap rents relatively. We're third lowest in Wales, and I think it's 6.7% on average, lower than the Welsh average. But earnings in our area are higher than the All Wales average, and yet our bad debts are higher than the Welsh average. In fact, we're in the top 25%. So on the one hand, we've got good affordability, low rents, and the earnings in Caerphilly County Borough are higher than quite a few other county boroughs. But our debts, the rent debts are higher. And I'm just wondering how this is. It shouldn't be the case. I know that there's an issue with universal credit, but other authorities have got exactly the same issue. And how come that we're doing worse than they are, actually? So I'm just wondering, it's a paradox, and I'm just wondering if there's an explanation for that. Is it that our residents expect to have a higher standard of living? They've got better affordability. Really, of rents, are they putting other things? Are they spending the money on other things that in other county boroughs they're not able to? Thank you.
Nick?
Thanks, Councillor Pritchard. There's a number of things there, and it is a bit paradoxical as you referenced, but there are a number of issues there. I'll just take them in turn. Yes, we are one of the most affordable, third, as you said, due to the Joseph Rowntree metric of the living wage, which is a good thing, but we are increasing our rents to the absolute maximum that we possibly can in line with Welsh Government as we've taken the rent paper through. So it's not that we're choosing to set them lower, just for the record. We've taken papers through to increase the rents as much as we can because we need as much income as we possibly can. The average earnings, yes, you pointed that out. Not everyone in our properties is obviously earning. We've got a higher dependency on benefit income to support the rents. It's about 80% of our of our contract holders' tenants are in support, with using support of benefit. There is an element of the transition to universal credit that has impacted on that, but actually it hasn't impacted as much as we would have thought, but it has impacted negatively, but not as much as we had anticipated, which is positive, but it's still impacted quite a lot. The main crux of this, in terms of what puts us apart from some of the other local authorities, is that we, over the last few years, have focused on tenancy sustainment and tenancy support, and not looking to put tenants at risk, and trying to support them. And we've able to support many more tenants in terms of maximising the benefits of what they can do, and not pushing them into a position that may put them at risk of homelessness, because obviously that puts a pressure on other areas of the service. However, as is detailed in the report, I'm redressing that balance again now, because 7.5% is a high level of arrears at the moment, and we recognise that. And I've switched the balance of the team, and so I'm putting more back into, I don't know, what you might traditionally call rent recovery, or trying to recover some of that bad debt, and looking at other means to do that. But while still recognising that our contract holders, our customers, our tenants do need a high level of support, because we're dealing with some of the most vulnerable in our communities. So it's about getting the right balance. We recognise the rent arrears are high, and we're working to drive that down.
Yeah, could I come back on that? I know 80% is quite a high proportion of our tenants on benefits of some sort. Have we got figures? I don't expect you to give them now, but I'd be very interested to see them. Have we got figures for other authorities in Wales, neighbouring authorities with the same kind of deprivation index that we might have, to see what percentage of their tenants are on benefits? And so that's a question I'd like followed up if possible. And I've got another question on a completely different part of this report, which I'm afraid to say I forgot to mention. So shall I come in at the end, or shall I ask that now?
Well, I don't know if Nick wants to give you any information.
You assumed correctly, Councillor Pritchard. I don't have those stats to hand with me, so we can look to provide that for some comparator after the meeting.
Thank you very much for that, Nick. And Judith,
can I ask my second question? Yeah. That's on 581, and this is market sales for units not classified as affordable housing. Now, are we really we're building houses then that aren't for people who are haven't got very high incomes and are affordable? I mean, are these just ordinary market houses like any ordinary developer would be? And if that is the case, why are we doing it? And shouldn't this be a policy matter that the council should have looked at? I mean, I do rather object to our taxpayers' money, or the housing revenue account borrowing, etc. It's all taxpayers' money being spent on houses that are not affordable, that anybody could buy from an ordinary developer. So I'd like a comment on that, please.
Nick?
Thanks, Councillor Pritchard. This was a corporate decision that was taken when we looked at this significant site. We are creating a new place. Oakdale Place is a new part of the community, and we need to ensure that that is a mixed and balanced community. We wouldn't want to necessarily deliver a mono-tenure estate that would be circa, when finished, around about the 90 homes mark. But just to reassure you, and to be well governed within the HRA guidance, we're not subsidising the delivery of market for sale housing here. One of the reasons why we've also got a level of private for sale housing is that acts as cross subsidy back into the scheme, and back into the sales act as income, back into enable us to deliver and afford to build out the whole of the site. And we're not able to make a loss on that. It has to contribute back to the HRA. So we're using that. We take as much grant as we possibly can from Welsh Government to deliver that. We take as much as we feel sustainable from the business plan to deliver that, as detailed in the paper. But then we also take the sales surplus from that to go back into to cross-subsidise the overall delivery of the estate. So it's about mixed and balanced communities for one, about economic vibrancy, but also supporting those that are in higher need and making sure that the cross-subsidy can come back into the model and make it as sustainable financially.
Sorry, Chair. But surely private developers are called upon to provide, in our area, it's 25% affordable housing. So isn't there an element of cross-subsidy there?
I understand your point, Councillor Pritchard. I wouldn't call it cross-subsidy necessarily. That's planning gain. So they would have to deliver that from the planning perspective. In terms of the planning gain, we're delivering higher than that planning gain because it was our land and we took that policy and strategic financial decision to deliver higher level of affordable on there because it's our land. I mean, I don't know whether you're aware of the site. The site is extremely challenging on Oakdale. There's a 25-metre drop from one end to the other end. There's a huge engineering feat that we've had to go through to deliver that, and it's very unlikely that a private developer would have actually delivered this particular site in question. Anyone that's been there would attest to that. But I guess that's not really the point. The point is that we're delivering it on appropriated council lands to deliver the optimum amount of affordable while getting the right balance, mixed and balanced community.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Nick. And I think a lot of us support the mixed tenure, and we think that that's the best way forward. And you were quite right. It's a very challenging site for development. And let's hope when it is come to completion, it'll be a success all round. Are there any other questions? Just one point, and I think you touched on it in your earlier comments to Councillor Pritchard, Nick, is regarding the arrears. That must be a concern because it's a difficult one when, as you say, there's vulnerable people going into arrears, but then again, our arrears seems to be marching significantly upwards, so that rebalancing is very much needed.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't want to repeat what I've said, but it is about getting the right balance, and I'm getting the team to be far more proactive in that area than we have done in recent years, and I'm hoping to see that come down next time we present this next year.
Thank you very much for that, Nick. I don't see any other questions on this item. There's no vote, but we will now move on to item 8, the Housing and Environment Budget Monitoring Report, Quarter 3. I'll ask Councillor Shane Cook again, please. If he's still online. Can you see? Councillor Shane Cook, I don't know if you can hear me. Well, Councillor Cook has some connection problems. We've all read the report. Are there any questions? If Shane is able to connect, and he can come back in. Other than that, I'll go to any questions. Councillor Judith Pritchard.
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is in regard to 544, which is securing permanent moves on options for single people. Now, we seem to have an awful lot of homelessness, well, single person homeless. I'm wondering if we've got an age profile, because it's a bit surprising. I know that's the case. These are the people who put themselves forward, but I'm wondering about the eligibility criteria, and I'm wondering if there's a predominance of younger people or people. I know people leaving care. Children leaving care have to be accommodated, but are there, rather more than you'd expect, teenagers and people who are in their early 20s in these people? Because I'd like to see an age profile. I'd also like to see a sort of matrix of vulnerability, because I don't think we house people who are not vulnerable. So presumably all these single homeless people are vulnerable, and I'm just wondering what sort of people they are, and whether in fact, if it's the case that there are rather a lot more younger people than we'd expect, is that anything to do with the fact that schools are having problems now with special educational needs? There are a large number of children with autism, and I think they get a diagnosis relatively easily in the private sector. And is it that parents are just, when they become teenagers and a bit bolshy, is it that parents are rather inclined to tell them to go and live elsewhere? Thank you.
Nick?
Thanks, Councillor Pritchard. Again, I don't have those stats with me for this paper this evening in terms of the age profile, but it is a balance when we're dealing with a lot of the cohort that do become unfortunately homeless and utilise our RTA. And I would say that mirrors a number of the Welsh authorities in terms of the highest need being one bed accommodation. It's not just a Caerphilly issue necessarily, it is a Welsh issue in terms of the need for one bed accommodation. Certain areas of Wales, particularly the cities like Swansea and Cardiff and Wrexham and others, that are able to have more stock, more private stock. They're able to support them, so their numbers may not be as high because they've got more stock to kind of support them with in terms of move on to that end. But this is I haven't got any correlation to the education attainment and special needs as you highlight. I'm not necessarily saying there may not be a correlation there, but I haven't really stats to back that up. But this is largely because of the cost of living crisis that we've experienced, a lot of legislative change where we're seeing a lot of the private landlords exiting the market, putting more pressure on people that were in private rented accommodation that now are being priced out of that because the landlords that do remain is not affordable. We're having less private landlords, so we're more reliant on TA. So that's the correlation to the increase of that. We can have a look at the age profiling, but a lot of it is male, single male. I do know that and can confirm that, but I wouldn't say it's necessarily a kind of the kind of 20-year-old cohort necessarily. I don't think it's necessarily a younger issue, but we can have a look at that for you. But I don't think that it's a young person necessarily issue.
Thank you. Yes, it would be very interesting to have those stats. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nick. Thank you very much, Councillor Pritchard. I don't see any other questions, but I just got one clarification with reference to the bowling green maintenance on 5.3.7. It says that they're working with various bowling green associations to minimise the impact of the transfer of the maintenance costs. Does that recognise the transfer of the maintenance costs from if a bowling green decides to take it out of local authority maintenance or cutting or?
Yes, that's correct, Councillor.
Right. That's all I wanted to clarify. Thank you very much for that. I don't see any other hands up on this item, and that's only for noting. So we'll now, if there's no other questions, we'll move on to item 9 and the cleaner and greener enhancements, and I'll hand over to Councillor Chris Morgan to introduce the report.
Thank you, Chair. This report provides an update on the delivery of the Cleaner and Greener Enhancement Programme during 25 and 26 and sets out proposals for its continuation over the 26-27 and 27-28 financial years. Building on the progress achieved to date, the programme aims to further improve the appearance and the environmental quality of the County Borough through targeted investment across parks, waste and highway services. Members are invited to consider the suggested work streams and provide their views ahead of a further report to Cabinet. Scrutiny members have a good opportunity today to comment on these proposals to enhance the cleaning of the borough. Proposals include to enhance mechanical sweeping in our town centres and villages, increase ward cleansing, sign cleansing, vegetation clearance, and much more. The key of this policy is to put ward councillors more in control of directing cleansing in their wards, what they will know of these issues, and get them reported and completed on dates forewarned by the teams. It is proposed that the Clean and Greener budget be increased to £2 million per annum for 26-27 and 27-28, which is a 50% uplift. Chair, before I complete my introduction, may I inform members of an error in Appendix 1 of the report in relation to continuation of ward cleansing teams. The total cost is correct, but the narrative currently states one team of 3 members of staff to conduct special cleansing operations requested by local members. Each ward would receive 2 one-week visits per annum. This was previously costed for 2 teams, but due to demand reduced to 1 for 26-27 and 27-28. This should actually read 2 teams of 3 members of staff to conduct special cleansing operations requested by local members. Each ward would receive 2 one-week visits per annum. Chair, the report will be amended for Cabinet. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much for that, Chris. As you can imagine, there's quite a lot of interest, and questions were submitted at the pre-meeting, so I shall take them in the order that we had, and I'll go to Councillor Mike Adams for your question.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Chris, for that introduction. And yes, I think we can all agree that this move forward with a slightly larger budget will do the borough all that we hope. No, it won't, because we want much more to do all that we hope, because we've all got ambitions to do better than we can ever hope for. But the recommendations, I'm looking through those now, 312, 3133, and all of those. Yeah, that's the way forward for us. Thanks for that amendment to the 2 teams rather than the A team. Although we want both of the 2 teams to be the A team, don't we? When we're asking them. So thanks for that. And I can say that Pontefraith has just itself had some good work completed by the team in the last couple of weeks. So thanks for that. But a couple of questions for Mike Headington probably. And that is, will there be a one point of contact for all of the different services? Because when you're trying to make sure that the ward members are being answered and listened to, we know where we can keep going if there's some kind of a failure in what we've wanted hasn't been carried out as quickly as we always wanted, too quickly. And also, how often will the teams visit each ward, and how long will they spend in the wards? So some of that is answered in part of the report, I know, but can we have that now on record?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Councillor Adams, for your questions. In terms of the single point of contact, yes, there will be a single point for members to utilise. We're currently working proactively with our IT team to develop a simple web form for members to complete to raise the various requests for the work streams. And obviously, if Cabinet approve the continuation of the initiative, communications will be sent to all members on how they access that and submit those requests. In terms of visits, I leave my colleagues Gavin and Hayley respond to their respective areas, but for the park service, it's two visits per ward per annum, and plus obviously visits to the principal town centres also.
Yes, it's the town centres that we get lots of comments from.
Yes, of course.
Especially when we're talking about parking. And most of the parking in our town centres, and I'm talking about Blackwood, is because deliveries find it much easier to stop in the high street than go around the back access road. And hopefully they're all always only there for 10 minutes at the most, so it shouldn't be. But when you get 3, 4, or 5 in the town centre parking, it also, if we've got a plan to clean up the town centre, it's not easy to follow up as we want. Thanks, Mike.
Ailey?
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, just to echo in terms of the community cleansing team, it will operate very similar. So it's 2 visits per ward per annum for the community cleansing. Thanks.
Gavin?
Thanks, Chair. If I can just come in and confirm, the community response team will be guaranteed a week's visit into each ward. The difficulty we'll have going into that is that we have a single source within our principal contractor, but we will guarantee that we will be in for 1 week at the very least. Sometimes those programs are slightly elongated, and we look to manage that as we have done this year, and we'll continue to support the team in that regard. Thanks, Councillor Adams.
Thanks for that. I mean, getting the teams to have a full week in any of our wards in the last few weeks would not have been easy, because they're not supplied with flippers and snorkels, are they?
Which makes the point, really. If they do miss the slot, they are going to come back at a later date.
We'll devise a programme through the year. So the programme will sit there, and we'll have that for all of the wards. It's quite fluid. As I said, we have the one single source contract, and that resource is committed across all of the highway maintenance elements. But across the year, we will have assurances that we will be in each ward for at least 5 days across that period. And if we need to slip into other areas or other work streams at that time, we'll certainly return, we'll reprogram, and we'll share that with members, so you have an awareness of when we're likely to return. And the reasons for any delays in the programme.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Councillor Hayden Pritchard.
Thank you, Chair. 2 questions, if I could, please. The first one is, what proportion of the 2 million annual budget is allocated to staffing, equipment and direct environmental works? And my second question is, what's the plan for maintaining these improvements once the reserve funding ends?
Any offers?
I'll go first, Chair. So in terms, if I talk firstly about the first question and in relation to the cleansing and the waste, so most of the costs that you will see in Appendix 1 in relation to community cleansing, mechanical sweeping and bypass cleaning, the majority of that cost is built up of staff, frontline staff and vehicles. So that's really what all the cost is about from the cleansing. It's about putting the additional staff into those areas to undertake the cleansing and having the appropriate vehicles to be able to do it, including 2 mechanical sweepers. So, you know, it's the majority of the funding for waste is on staff and vehicles.
Thank you. Mike, did you want to come in or Jeff?
Thank you, Chair. Likewise for the park service, again, that is all staff, time, vehicles, fuel, plant and equipment, etc.
Jeff?
Yeah, I'll pick up the second point, Chair, if that's okay. I think the question related to essentially what happens in two years' time. I mean, this has been a pilot project for 1 year, as we know. I think it's been, as other members have referred to, it's been pretty successful. It's been incredibly well received by members of the public, and the feedback we've received has reflected that. And I think the proposal to increase it to £2 million across the next 2 years reflects again how well that programme has been received. I would anticipate that at some point during year 2 of the proposal, we will be coming back with a view to extend the programme even further.
Thank you very much for that, Jeff. Hayden, did you want to come back, or was that okay with you?
No, that's okay. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Adrian Hussey.
Chair. Part of my first question had been answered by Chris, because I had concerns about the teams. Obviously, on the report, it would say 1 team of 3 members, which doesn't seem a lot be an award. And the second one is a team of 2 members plus a vehicle. And again, that didn't seem many members are out on the streets or what have you to do the cleansing. But like I say, part of that question has been asked. The other part now is about the weeding in the principal towns. So are we gonna have weeding in the smaller villages as well? Because speaking personally, I didn't see any weeding done in Newbridge last year. I know we can't be everywhere at all the time, but I remember back a few years ago there was a guy on a quad going around spraying everything, but I didn't see it last year. And if I got one more question, Chair, how many mechanical sweepers have we got at the moment? Because we've got a massive borough, and if we've only got one, well, we're lucky to see it in a 12-month. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Adrian. Mike?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Hussey, for the question. In terms of the weeds, we only grub out the weeds at the moment from the principal town centres as part of this initiative. However, should you have specific locations you want to raise, you can do that through the form I mentioned earlier. Spraying, 2 applications of herbicide is sprayed across the county borough, the adopted highway network, footpaths, etc. But that doesn't include the grubbing out. Obviously, the grubbing out is part of this enhanced team.
And the mechanical sweeper, Oily?
Yeah, in terms of mechanical sweeper, the proposal includes an additional 2 sweepers to accompany the 2 we've already got. So it'll be one 15-ton, sort of a standard size sweeper, and a compact sweeper. So they will be in addition. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks very much for that. I want to come back to the issue of weeding in a bit, but I know Councillor Chapman's got a specific question about mechanical sweepers. I don't know if it's been covered or...
Quite honest, most of it has been covered. What it was, I was asking, will we be purchasing new mechanical sweepers, and to complete these extra works, have we got enough staff to carry out these works? Because naturally, would they have to be trained up for the use of mechanical sweepers?
Okay, so in relation to the mechanical sweeper question, as I stated to the previous question, there is built into this a proposal for 2 additional sweepers, 1 standard size and 1 compact. Because of the duration of this, e.g. 2 year, they will be hired rather than purchased. But that provision is built into the proposal. And in terms of additional staff, we've got, because this was part of the 25-26 programme, we've got staff in there covering those duties now. So that will continue, but they are post to backfilled because this is all about additionality. So it's in addition to what we would do normally in terms of mechanical sweeping. So there's an extra 2 posts and 2 vehicles.
Thank you very much.
One other question, Mayor. It's just nice that we got the heads of service here today. Concerning the Upper Rumney Valley area, which I like to talk about because naturally I go around that area quite a lot. Can you give my thanks, quite honest, to the outstanding work that the staff have done on this enhancement? It's been to go around the area up in the Upper Rumney area. You can see where it's looking absolutely beautiful. So from the highways to the parks to the cleansing, it's been outstanding, the work up there. Them boys worked in the rain, they were covered in muck, and they done the work. So I just like to put on my record for you of my thanks to the supervisors who done control it, and also to the 2 teams that was working up in the Upper Rumney, the work that they done and the way they done it. So I would like, if you could, to relay this back to the 2 teams and the staff to say thank you for the work that they actually done up in the Upper Rumney Valley. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Chapman.
we'll make sure those really positive comments are passed on through Mike and myself and Gavin and Hayley back to the teams. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Teresa Heron.
Thank you, Chair. Part of my question has already been answered as well, I think. In relation to the weed control, do the council use chemical spraying? And if so, can you clarify whether glyphosate-based products are part of the programme, please?
Mike?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor, for your question. Yes, we do spray herbicide and it is glyphosate-based.
Thank you. I don't know much about the herbicides, but is glyphosate a separate one to herbicide, or do they come under the same umbrella?
No, it's all the same product. I think the glyphosate is the actual part of the chemical inside it. So it's a herbicide, including glyphosate.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, that Councillor Heron. Before I take the other questions, I want to go back to the weeding while we're on the subject of it. I know you said that the weeding or the spraying is concentrated on the principal towns. As Councillor Hussey said, a couple of years ago, we'd see people spraying the wards. Is that still ongoing?
Yeah, sorry, Chair. So just to clarify, yes, you are right. We cover all the adopted highways. They are all sprayed twice per annum through the summer months. So the weed that's covered by a contractor using specialist equipment. Through this initiative, we have been able to have staff physically, after the treatment of the weeds, physically grubbing out dead weeds in town centres. So in answer to your question, yes, that is still, all the herbicide treatment is going on across the county borough. In terms of the town centres, all those weeds are being grubbed out to enhance the visual appearance after those weeds have died back.
And as far as wards are concerned, the process, I thought the cleaning and greening enhancements wasn't necessarily to do the weeding and grubbing out. But is that part of the plan, so that the teams will do weeding and, or grubbing out?
Yes, that is part of the initiative in the principal town centres.
But moving away from, away.
I think if members have specific locations where they have, problems with weeds, as I mentioned to Councillor Hussey earlier, if they want to put those up into the reform to request our teams to go and visit, we can incorporate that into the work plan.
Okay, thanks very much for that, Mike. Councillor Pat Cook.
I've lost you now a minute. Oh gosh.
I think it was a reference to the bus shelters. I think.
Yes, it was. I just got to get you back now.
I think it was.
Can you bear with me till I come back in?
We can do. I think it was.
Right. No, it's okay. I'm here now. Okay. I was wondering does it come under the auspices of the council that we clean the bus shelters as well, because they are looking quite dilapidated? That's my first question.
Okay. Chair, I can take that.
Thanks, Chair. I'll take that.
If you wish, Clive Campbell.
Yes, Clive.
All right. Just to confirm, Councillor Cook, yes, they definitely do. We already have a programme of cleansing, but we use jet washers. Now, they achieve a certain level of cleaning, but when you have ingrained sort of dew and moss, then it doesn't get rid of that. So certainly we can include this in this level of in this Clean and Greener programme. If we get requests from members for specific areas of concern, we'll certainly try to address that to the extent that we can manage within our resources.
Okay, thank you. And I wanted to ask about the Trelin bypass and also the roundabout at Brisker. They seem to be particularly bad, and I know they're really busy roads, but is it envisaged that those are going to be cleansed as well?
If you mean the roundabouts themselves?
No, the roads, the actual road, the grass verges on the side of the road, they're particularly bad.
Well, certainly, again, if we don't capture that ourselves, then certainly if members include that in the request that they submit to us once we've got this single point of contact, then we'll pick that up within the programme.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for that, Clive. Councillor Christian Woodland.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I've got two questions there, but I'd like to thank the teams that have been out cleansing in my ward as well. They've been doing a great job, so thank you very much for that. My first question is, one is route cleansing. So litter seems to have increased on roads and pavements. What can we do to catch and find those who throw litter from vehicles, please? Would you like my other question?
Yeah, well, unless someone wants... Jeff, do you want to come in now?
Pick the first one up. Thanks, Councillor Woodland. Yeah, it's a sad state of affairs that actually litter on our bypasses in our villages has significantly increased over the past few years. Unfortunately, what's also increased are significant instances of fly tipping, and our enforcement team have had to prioritise across the past 12 months particularly on managing fly tipping investigations to address the significant issues that are being sort of blighting our county borough as a result of those issues. What we have noticed, or what we are now in a position to, thankfully the enforcement team is now back up to full capacity, and that hasn't been the case, so that will certainly improve the position. There's a series of days of action that are now being progressed. One started today. Some members may have seen on social media that some environmental health officers were out around the county borough in certain parts talking to people, particularly sort of encouraging dog walkers and people to pick up litter, and we've had some success as far as that is concerned. We will also be significantly increasing our social media presence to get the message out about the impacts of fly tipping, littering more generally. And we'd also be encouraging people where they can report instances, particularly with sort of dash cam footage, to provide us with that so that we can start investigations. Car littering is particularly difficult for obvious reasons. But where people witness it and there is dash cam footage, if they provide us with that, then we'll take the necessary steps and start investigating.
Christian?
Thank you. Yeah, it's a shame I haven't got a dash cam, to be honest, because I've seen quite a bit of litter being thrown out windows of cars lately. Yeah, and with the dog waste as well, that seems to be on the increase as well. But my second question is, what are the costs of cleaning up our main trunk roads of litter? Thank you.
Hayley?
Thank you, Councillor. So in terms of the main strategic routes and the bypasses, the annual cleansing cost is circa 90,000. However, with this Cleaner and Greener programme and the proposal for an additional 50,000 to add to that, but that will allow us to increase the frequency of the cleanse on those roads.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Lisa Phipps.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So my first question has already been answered. I was going to ask about bus stops, but Councillor Cook has covered that one. So my second question was going to be, will gateway enhancements cover the replacement of settlement signs if they are needed? And also, would any of this funding cover new normal street signs, please?
Gavin?
Thanks, Chair. Councillor Phipps, in response to that, in relation to the settlement signs, and owing to the sheer cost involved in replacement of those signs, which range from between £5,000 to £25,000, depending on specification, where they're placed on sort of masonry walls, or some that are placed on sort of 76mm posts that are erected there around the borough. It's not something that we can look to deliver, not an area we target in under the Clean and Green initiative and with the community response team. But we have targeted areas. We've got a set budget line within the Highway Services Group that we look to target and we look to aid with. But this is finite, so we can't undertake en masse sort of changes and new settlement signs. But we can consider each request should members want to raise those with the Highway Services Group. We can look at those individually. But in terms of cleansing of those signs, that's something we can do as part of the enhancement. So that's something that will certainly be, in terms of betterment, that will be an improvement aesthetically within the wards and across your areas.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Councillor Judith Pritchard.
Thank you. How is it that this is per ward, not per ward member? Because some wards are much bigger than others. And Penrell, for instance, has got 4 members and presumably is nearly 4 times as big as Mysacomer, which has got 1 member. So you're not getting equality between wards. Thank you.
Gavin?
Yeah, so thank you, Councillor. I'll take that question. It's basically that we're looking, owing to the number of councillors, it wouldn't be possible that we could deliver a pro-rata approach to have a significant level of attention in each councillor's area. So we try and rest it across the ward areas, which on occasion there are multiple councillors that serve those wards, and we capture that to ensure that we get a presence across the borough and across the entire authority. Albeit it will be slightly imbalanced in certain areas, but we try to address that through the coordinated and strategic approach we take to planning these works across the borough and across your wards. Hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Councillor Pritchard, was that okay for you?
Yes, thanks very much.
Thank you. Councillor Dawn Ingram-Jones.
I want to go back to weeding, please. Then I've got several areas within my ward where.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. I think that was another voice. Carry on.
Right. So there are issues where it is weeded, but within weeks, basically, the weeds are coming back because of the condition of the paving. The paving itself isn't damaged, but the grouting, the pointing has disappeared, basically. So the weeds just come back straight away. I have raised this in the past to see if we get the paving actually grouted again, pointed again, but I was told that this couldn't happen because of the costs. But obviously, is if we're trying to tidy up the areas, weeding when it's going to be coming back within several weeks is not going to do much of a job, really, is it? So I just asked if we could look at that to actually repairing the state of our pavements.
Gavin? Yes,
thanks, Chair. In terms of the pavement specification and grouting, they're not necessarily grouting. When we look at the modular paving sets that you have across the borough, they are ones that are modular paving construction, and there's not necessarily any grouting in between. And what we tend to have is there'll be addressed sharp standards presented across the footway when we're looking at the modular slabbed areas. But in terms of grouting, that's not something we'll have. It's as soon as we get that approach, as soon as some of the teams that are having to take the herbicidal treatment, you will sometimes get the return of sort of moss, algae in those areas, especially through the sort of seasons and the Welsh weather that we have. It is extremely challenging to try and remove all of those across the highway network because it is sizable. But in areas that we need to target, we can certainly look to take members' considerations on board. But it's not something necessarily that we would look to undertake a grouting exercise as such.
Councillor Jones?
So would I just keep reporting them then? As the weeds keep coming back, do I just keep making the reports?
Yeah, there's very little we can do in that regard, apart from undertaking the sort of grubbing out and the sort of biannual treatment of the herbicidal wash. Then there's very little we can do beyond that. It's the sort of climatic conditions we live in within South Wales, and it's a blight, and we try to get to the areas that we can. So anything that you have, then please continue to raise them, both through the CRT and separately with the Highway Services Group.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bob Owen.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, a couple of points. Firstly, we've had some comments regarding roundabouts in Risca and the bypass and fly tipping. I tend to get emails from outside of the ward that people travel through, obviously coming through Risca, going up to Anastee, Pontefraith, etc. And they see the state of the bypass and they actually come to me. But fair play, Rodri Lloyd has dealt with emails on that respect for me, which has been great, you know, answering them, you know, because they to let them know exactly what the situation is with the bins and whatever. But one of the things for me is the sign cleaning. We are an entrance to the borough, but sign cleaning should be a priority right throughout the borough anyway, because when somebody comes out of Newport or, you know, from the north end coming from the Merthyr way, we need to look as if we're managing, you know, welcome to Caerphilly, cleaner and greener, and the signs really need to be spot on. So that is really good that we're going to sort of be picking up on that, because that is, you know, through the entry points, people are really then going to say, oh, this place looks like it's well maintained, as opposed to seeing dirty signs and whatever. So I welcome that, particularly in Risca. I'll follow up a bit as well on what Councillor Jones just mentioned with weeding. I feel for her on that, because they do come back, and I get regular complaints from within Risca where, you know, weeds are supposedly cleansed, yet they don't seem to even disappear sometimes. For me, a lot of the time, it's actually not on the pavements. It's the actual, it's on the tarmac, between the tarmac and the curb. And you literally get huge swathes of greenery, you know, coming onto the road. When I report that, then they are, you know, these are sprayed, but a lot of the times they don't seem to clear. So I was just wondering from that point of view, and from our guys, you know, we've had the conversations with Gavin and Mike and whatever, is about the follow-up in terms of contractors, because if the contractors are doing this a lot of the times, how much are we on top of them, making sure that they're actually doing a very good job for us, if that makes sense? You know, we need to be right on top of this to ensure that we get the service that we pay for. I'm not having to go at particular contractors or anything like that. I just think we need to be on the ball and keeping a strong eye on that type of work. So more comments than answers, than looking for answers, really. But thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bob. I don't know if you, Mike, wanted to come in.
Thank you, Chair. Just to say to Councillor Owen there, so we use a specialist contractor to spray all the adopted highway network. So they use a ride-on machine with a tank, etc. on, and that uses specific, it's called Weed It technology. So as it drives along, it literally scanning the footway, and it picks up where there are grass, weeds, etc. And it targets the intervention of the weed killer or the herbicide treatment actually onto that piece of grass or weed or whatever it may be. So it is pretty concentrated, and it is hitting the weed. I accept your point that sometimes weather conditions, you know, if it rains straight after the application, you know, it can cause the failure of that treatment. So the county borough is split up into, from a parks perspective, and the monitoring of this contract, split up into 5 geographical areas. So in each of those areas, I have an area parks officer So they would do routine inspections of the network. So we get regular updates. We get weekly updates from the contractor as to what wards they've sprayed, what streets they've sprayed. Then they would leave it a week, and then they would go and inspect. We have a process in place whereby it's called callback. So if the supervisor goes there, they can see that it hasn't taken the treatment hasn't taken in a particular street. That they call the contractor back. There's also regular meetings with the management of that company to ensure that the contract, is we are getting value for money and we are getting what we pay for.
Thank you very much for that, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Before we go to the vote, I can't see any other hands. Can I just, and it's directly referenced to the recommendation at 3.4, where it says about strengthening the engagement with elected members. Because I note on page 54, I think it is, at 5.3, in the last year, it recognised that the engagement with members was, the number of responses were particularly low. And it goes on then to reference improved engagement. I take your point, Mike, that members are asked to submit requests, but I'm just wondering what's the change to improve engagement as opposed to what's gone on in the last year, whether it's a bigger focus on this rollout. I just want a bit of clarity on that if you can, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So obviously the single point of contact is something new that we're going to introduce if Cabinet are minded to approve this initiative. Previously, requests from members would come into the generic inboxes in each of the respective services. So the single point of contact. So as I said earlier, we are looking with IT to develop a form. As part of that, we're looking to close the loop as well. So once that work request is completed, that the member will get an email back saying that it's been submitted and then when it's been completed. So we're looking to close that loop so members know what work has been done. So it's not just perceived as just perhaps going into a black hole then, should I say. So the work is programmed. So obviously that will improve the member engagement, and I know that the leader is quite keen as well to raise the profile. So we're going to be doing for members what is basically like an information web page. So it'll have all the information on there, who to contact, what's going to be covered. So we'll hopefully improve members' engagement.
Yeah, that's great, and I think that telling members what has been done as well, I think that's going to be really really useful. Councillor Chris Morgan.
Thanks, Chair. Is it okay if I can just come in and say a few words?
You can.
Thanks. After years of austerity, and I think a figure has been mentioned in previous scrutinies, over £1 million have been taken out of budgets for cleaning our streets and villages. This pilot project has been well received. I think we've heard that here tonight by councillors and members of the public. I think I'd like to thank the members here for their questions tonight and for the buy-in to this. And I'm really looking forward to taking this to Cabinet, and with everybody working together, we can make our borough cleaner and greener. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much for that, Chris. Well, I don't see any other hands up. So the recommendations are on pages 53 and 54, and the recommendations are at 3.1, 3.2, 3.3 and 3.4. So if I can we go to the... I seek a mover first.
Move, Chair.
Thank you. And is that seconded? And can we now go to the vote, Andrea?
That's been carried unanimously, Chair.
Well, thank you all very much for coming to tonight's meeting. That concludes the business tonight, and I'll declare the meeting closed.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks,
Thank you. Good
everybody.
evening.